Would it be Formula 1 without a big team threatening to leave because it's not getting its own way? Probably not. And though Red Bull's not throwing its toys out of the pram just yet, it's dropped more than just an implicit quit threat in its bid to secure exactly what it wants for its post-Honda future from 2022. Unfortunately for Red Bull, it has two obstacles in its way in the shape of Ferrari and Renault. So what does Red Bull want, why won't its adversaries bend the knee, and what's going to happen if or when Red Bull's bluff is finally called? Could it really force the two Red Bull teams out of Formula 1? I'm Scott Mitchell for The Race, and I have most of the answers for you and can take a decent stab at the rest. I quickly want to thank anyone who's watching who is among the astonishing 400,000 of you who are now subscribed to The Race. We're overwhelmed by your support and hope that anyone who isn't a subscriber just has a think about joining the club so you're up to speed on videos like this one. Speaking of which, let's dig into why Red Bull's bid for an apparently essential engine freeze has been tipped to fail and what happens next. Red Bull's quit threat. As you're probably aware, Red Bull will lose its engine partner Honda at the end of the 2021 season and needs to work out what it does from 2022 onwards. The priority is to agree a deal to take over the running of the Honda engines so the two teams, Red Bull Racing and AlphaTauri, do not have to strike customer deals instead. Red Bull's idea is to take over some of Honda's resources and add some specialists into the mix to help it take over and maintain the new engine that Honda's going to design for 2021. But it says that it can't then develop that engine, so it wants F1's planned engine freeze brought forward from 2023 to 2022. And Red Bull team boss Christian Horner has attached an implicit quit threat to that call, calling it the only way to make Red Bull's only option work. Red Bull Motorsport advisor Helmut Marko has gone even further, telling German media explicitly that Red Bull will consider the possibility of withdrawing its two F1 teams unless it gets a preferable engine deal. Red Bull is piling the pressure on F1 and the FIA to act because it faces opposition in the form of Ferrari and Renault, which we'll get to shortly. Horner's angle of attack is that Honda's exit exposes a major flaw in F1's engine rules and is a very awkward position for the championship to be in. So it's in F1's interest to back Red Bull's plan to keep the Honda engines going, with Horner saying it would be criminal for those engines to just end up on a shelf in a Japanese warehouse. Why it's not working. Red Bull's demand requires all 8 rival teams to support it, and that means convincing its fellow engine manufacturers to be on board. Mercedes has expressed its support, but that's hardly surprising. Why wouldn't the manufacturer of the best engine in F1 want the performance levels to be frozen? But crucially, Ferrari and Renault are standing firm. Renault boss Cyril Abiteboul has previously pushed for a freeze, but claims Red Bull and Honda opposed it, ironically because Honda would have withdrawn if it was unable to develop its engine further. As a result, Renault has invested time and resources to plan for engine development up to and including 2022, while Ferrari is preparing an all-new engine for 2021 and further development for 2022 as it bids to make up a significant power deficit. Both manufacturers have also identified working out the next generation engine rules as a priority over an early freeze of the current specification. They're also acutely aware that the FIA's regulations will command Renault to supply Red Bull and AlphaTauri in 2022 if an alternative engine supply is not arranged by next summer. So Ferrari and Renault don't see why they should have to change their plans just because Red Bull backed the wrong horse and doesn't want to use the fallback option that the rules were specifically designed to provide in such a scenario as this one. After all, they're being asked to sacrifice a year of engine development in 2022 just so a major rival, one that spectacularly fell out with Renault with some salty off-track behaviour, can have its cake and eat it as well. So yeah, you can probably see why this one rankles. Without their support, Red Bull's bid is going to fail, and there's another factor outside the teams to consider as well. FIA President Jean Todt will not support an early freeze if a lack of development scuppers the governing body's pledge to introduce fully sustainable fuels in 2023. These fuels will become a part of F1 in 2022, but there's a plan to aggressively accelerate that from 20% to 100% 1 year later, and having no engine development in 2022 would prevent that from happening. What happens next? If Red Bull fails to get the freeze that it says is essential to take over the Honda engine project, the claim that this was its only option will be seriously tested. That would leave it with 3 solutions to choose from. Option 1 is committing to the continuation effort anyway, and either persevering with an aging engine or finding a way to fund and execute upgrades in 2022, most likely with a third party, unless Honda can be convinced to provide financial or technical input. Option 2 is the simpler one, agreeing an engine supply deal with Ferrari or, more likely, Renault. but it's one that Red Bull's not keen on because it doesn't believe that returning to a customer relationship will allow it to fight for championships. Option 3 is for Red Bull to quit. It says that that's what it might do if it doesn't get what it considers an agreeable engine supply, but this still seems unlikely given how much the company has invested in the championship. There might be another scenario, but it will depend entirely on the progress F1 makes with determining the next generation engine package. F1's faced some calls to accelerate the introduction of new rules to tempt a new manufacturer in following Honda's exit. Mercedes, Ferrari and Renault have cautioned against a hasty decision, but agree that a cheaper engine with eco-friendly credentials are essential. If the next generation engine could be brought forward from 2026 with those conditions met, maybe Red Bull could find a new manufacturer to align with. F1's push for sustainable fuels could facilitate this. If biofuels become the short-term technological focal point, then the engine itself could become simpler and cheaper, even with a hybrid element. This could satisfy all parties. The FIA gets its wish for fuel development, the remaining engine manufacturers have a medium-term engine plan with reduced costs, and Red Bull can try to rope in a new manufacturer for fast-track but realistic new engine rules, sticking it out with Renault or a year-old Honda in the interim. It would also delay F1's need to commit to a new overarching engine technology, which is difficult to do in the short term given the uncertainty within the automotive industry. Whether this is possible by 2023 or if there's even appetite for it remains unknown, but there is time. F1's current V6 turbo hybrids were committed to in the summer of 2011, 2.5 years before their debut, and theoretically this switch is less dramatic given the hardware is already in place. We won't have an immediate answer on that option, but it's likely Red Bull will make a decision on its Honda plan quite soon, as it intends to clarify its next move in the coming weeks. So if you aren't already subscribed to the race or signed up for notifications for when we launch a new video, make sure you do that now and we'll do our part to keep you right up to date on Red Bull's future, whether that's over its engine supply or its place in F1 entirely.